Orchidaceae is the largest plant family known to exist in the world. There are about 25,000 to 30,000 species of orchids. There are 3 types of orchids: epiphytic orchids, saprophytic orchids, and terrestrial orchids. They can be found in any climate in the world. Orchids can grow in many ways: terrestrial in the soil, epiphytic on another plant but not parasitic, and saprophytic on decaying material. Orchids are known for their beautiful and unique flowers. Since the 1900s, horticulturists have been interested in orchids and have since established over 100,000 different cultivars. Why use tissue culture for orchids? Orchids are notoriously tricky to grow and often flower only once every few years if not grown in proper conditions. This makes traditional breeding extremely difficult. Micropropagation allows for the mass production of these hard-to-grow orchids, leading to thousands of orchids available for the market. Sanitation practices. Make sure to wash your hands thoroughly before entering the laminar flow hood. Keep all parts of your body but your arms out from underneath the flow hood to decrease contamination. Make sure to soak the explant for the amount of time stated, and make sure the bleach solution reaches all parts of the explant by agitating the solution. Remove all jewelry before entering the flow hood. Never touch the explants with your fingers after they've been disinfected in the bleach. This will spread contamination to your cultures. Work with only sterile materials, like medium, petri dishes, scalpels, tweezers, and water. You can sterilize tools using a Bacti-incinerator. Sterilize these tools after each use to limit the spread of contagions. Make sure to Clorox your station in the laminar flow hood.
Procedures to culture your orchids. Nuts and seed is the most common medium used to culture orchids and should be prepared according to instructions on the label. First, you're going to pour 50 milliliters of each nuts and seed stock into a 1-liter beaker. Then add 150 milliliters of coconut water with a pH between 5.2 and 5.6. Then add 10 milliliters of 100 parts per million BA. Add enough water up to the 1 liter mark and the solution is mixed thoroughly. Then adjust the pH to 5.6. The media is then dispensed into Erlenmeyer flasks. The flasks are covered with cotton plugs or rubber stoppers. You'll want to sterilize the flasks in a pressure cooker or autoclave for 30 minutes at 15 psi and 121 OC. Place these sterilized cultured flasks in the culture room to cool. Now it's time for explant selection and sterilization. You'll want to select a healthy, newly emerging shoot from the base of the parent orchid you want to culture. Excise the bud with a sharp knife or scalpel. Wash with detergent and tap water. Then swab with 95% ethyl alcohol and rinse with sterile distilled water. Inside the laminar flow hood or sterile chamber, sterilize the shoot with 1% calcium hypochlorite or 20% bleach with tween for 20 to 30 minutes. After the 20 to 30 minutes is up, in a sterile petri dish, rinse 3 times with sterile distilled water. Then excise the shoot tip and axillary buds. Sterilize these explants in 0.5 calcium hypochlorite or 10% bleach for 1 minute. After the 1 minute is up, wash in sterile distilled water. Drop your explant in sterile liquid medium and place the culture flask in rotary shaker. The next step in your orchid tissue culture is stage 2, proliferation. You'll want to reflask the initial culture in liquid medium every 3 to 4 weeks, agitating in a rotary shaker. When protocorm-like bodies are formed, transfer a small portion to individual flasks and agitate again. The next step in your orchid tissue culture is stage 2, proliferation. You'll want to reflask the initial culture in liquid medium every 3 to 4 weeks, agitating in a rotary shaker. When protocorm-like bodies are formed, transfer a small portion to individual flasks and agitate again. The final stage in your orchid tissue culture is differentiation. This stage is used for shoot elongation and in vitro rooting. Protocorms from liquid medium or the solid proliferating medium may be transferred to a culture medium with this formulation: nuts and seed plus 100 milliliters of coconut water, 100 grams of bungulin, 20 grams of sugar, 7 grams of agar, 1 gram of activated charcoal, and 1 to 5 parts per million NAA.